The title of this paper and presentation is Shepard Steps, Exploiting an Auditory Illusion for Footstep Sounds in Uneven Virtual Reality Walking. My name is Kieran McAuliffe, and I am a postdoctoral researcher at the Hamburg University of Applied Sciences. Illusions are an essential aspect of virtual reality. One could argue that VR itself is an illusion. As such, a large deal of VR research has focused on various sensory illusions. These range from visual to auditory to haptic. In this presentation, we will propose a new auditory combination of illusions that we are calling Shepard Steps. This allows us to simulate walking on sloped surfaces with the use of rising or falling footstep sounds. The first illusion this depends upon is the connection between auditory pitch and spatial elevation. An auditory visual cross-modal illusion was initially proven by Bernstein and Edelstein, who showed that participants were faster at reacting to visual targets when the targets were lower in their visual field and it was paired with an auditory low tone. When the visual targets were higher in the visual field, participants were faster to react when they were paired with a high tone. A large deal of research has since reinforced this illusion. Most relevant to our research is the auditory Pinocchio illusion, which links this to body representation. This study has shown that when participants have their finger pulled upwards, when it is paired with a rising tone, this makes participants feel as though their finger has been pulled further. The second illusion we depend upon is the Shepard tone. This is an auditory illusion of an endlessly upwards or downwards moving tone. This is created by a stack of tones which fade in and out as they rise. In the bottom right corner, you can see a visual equivalent. Let's have a listen to that. And this could continue endlessly in either direction. The benefits for footstep sounds of the Shepard tone are first, that it moves infinitely in either direction, but also that the Shepard tone will indicate relative change instead of just absolute elevation, similar to the slope that one feels when walking on a surface. And finally, that the sound will never become thin, that footstep sounds will never lose all of their low frequency content as they move higher and higher. To make Shepard steps, we replaced the tones of the Shepard tone with narrow bandpass filters. This technique is found in various software for sound designers, but we implemented it directly into Unity. Using this technique, we can apply these Shepard tone qualities to any arbitrary audio signal. It works especially well for footstep sounds because of the noisy quality. Let's have a listen to that as well. And again, this could continue endlessly in either direction. To use Shepard steps for vertical navigation, we introduce this term that we are calling Shepard movement gain, or G, which is the movement of the Shepard filters corresponding to the displacement of the virtual user. You see in this equation, the term G is multiplied by the change in the user's position, which in a practical application would be the vertical change in position, and this determines the movement of the Shepard filters. For large values of G, as the virtual user moves up, the Shepard filters will rapidly rise. For a value of G that is 0, as the virtual user moves up, the Shepard filters will not move. And for a negative small value of g, as the virtual user moves up, the Shepard filters will gradually fall. To test our technique, we set up a study in virtual reality. In reality, the participant would walk back and forth on flat ground, but in their headset they would see one of five different virtual elevations, which we determined in pre-trials to span a clearly perceptible elevation, a barely perceptible elevation, and completely flat. We then paired each of these virtual elevations with a Shepard movement gain, which we also determined in pre-trials. After walking through one condition, participants were asked the two forced alternative choice question: in the virtual space, did you walk up or down? This was repeated 8 times for each user and shuffled, resulting in 200 trials for each participant, and we did this for 17 participants. We hypothesized that footstep sounds would have an influence on the perception of walking upwards or downwards. However, visual perception would have a bigger influence than this auditory perception. We conducted this on a MetaQuest 3S and used additional noise-canceling headphones. To detect footsteps, because the MetaQuest does not allow us to access accelerometer readings, we attached a phone and used the accelerometer from it to our users. And in these images, on the bottom right, you can see the difference between a 0-degree incline and a 6-degree incline. Here's a video of the trial in action. Here are the relevant results from our study. First, let me describe this graph on the right. On the x-axis, you see visual incline in degrees, ranging from -6 to 6 degrees. On the y-axis, you see the probability of answering up between the up and down choice that users had. And these different lines you see are the varying Shepard gains. The lighter yellow lines represent more positive Shepard and higher Shepard movement gains, while the lower negative values represent lower negative movement gains. The teal line in the middle represents no Shepard movement gain at all. You can see how the yellow lines appear above this teal line and the blue lines appear below. You also see how at the higher, more extreme visual inclines, the results cluster together as the visual stimulus takes over. We conducted a Friedman test comparing the mean of estimated direction between different Shepard movement gains and did find a significant main effect. And 2 key post-hoc tests showed that this occurred between flipping between positive and negative Shepard movement gains. This suggests that the Shepard steps do have an effect on perceived direction. However, as we suspected, visual incline does dominate this perception. The impact of this study is the potential use for Shepard steps to emphasize vertical motion in low vision conditions, such as for the users with sight impairments. Thank you.